Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things you love. It is final whistle time here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham Hotspur have got their first 3 points of the Champions League campaign. So we beat Villarreal 1-0. An early goal, an own goal by the goalkeeper, an absolute clanger of a mistake. And after that, it was more mistakes after more mistakes after more mistakes. If I'm entirely honest, guys, the one word I would summarise this entire performance with, from both Tottenham and Villarreal, if I'm entirely honest, was sloppy. Look, there were moments where everybody on the Tottenham side had good minutes, good moments, nice trickery, but every single one of them, with the exception of one or two, had moments, probably more moments, where they were giving the ball away unnecessarily. The final pass was so bad that I think I'll probably call it the final fail instead. It was so frustrating at times. Everyone around us was sitting there just getting really, really fed up with opportunities that were presenting themselves to Tottenham, and then we would break away, nice bits of trickery in the midfield at times to create a little bit of space. Villarreal playing a very specific type of press. It wasn't constant, it wasn't always from the front, but they were sort of swarming in packs and putting pressure on. But when we could break through it, there was lots of opportunities for Tottenham to move the ball into space. But then the final pass let us down time and time again. I'm going to go through the 11 players in the starting 11 for Tottenham and how I thought each of them did. As far as Villarreal goes, look, you know, it wasn't sensational from them, if I'm entirely honest, either. Lots of sloppy passes, lots of sloppy chances that they gave away. There was a penalty shout for them right at the end that I haven't seen the replay on, but from where we were sitting down, Aaron, it looked like it should have been a penalty, but the VAR checked it. It was a free kick just outside the area. A penalty chance as well for Tottenham. I think two penalty chances, in fact, that went to VAR that were overturned or sort of quickly checked very, very quickly. I haven't seen any of them on the replay, so I don't know if they were the correct decisions or otherwise, but it doesn't matter. For me, guys, look, the takeaways are that we got the 3 points, another clean sheet. And I'll start with the back line. Vicario didn't have a lot to do. I think he had one or two saves to make that were pot shots or headers from distance. Very quiet and easy day for him. I thought his passing, his delivery, for the most part, was okay. His long balls would get, or sort of sideways passes into the channels were pretty good. Pedro Porro was at the back on the right-hand side. Jed Spence started the game on the left. And then the two men that are just becoming a fantastic partnership, Romero and Micky van der Ven, were the back line for us this evening. For me, Micky van der Ven, once again, a brilliant performance from him in tidying things up. Same with Romero, but I think Micky van der Ven, for me, had the edge on the two centre-backs. He was seamless with his ability to come in, clear lots of headers, long balls, sort of low-driven balls from Villarreal that him and Romero sort of, for the most part, took care of. I wasn't that unimpressed or that put off by their particular performances with the ball. My frustrations came in the midfield, but when the ball was in Tottenham's sort of danger zone, towards our goal, I think Micky van der Ven maybe put 2 or 3 slide tackles in that sort of cleared us out of danger. He's very, very good with those timings. Very, very impressive indeed. And Romero, not so much to the same degree in my opinion. I might be wrong. It's difficult to always see it from the angle that I have. But again, my summary would be defensively pretty resolute, pretty sound for the most part. A couple of missed headers, a couple of slight sort of glances off the head that kind of allow players like Pepe and Buchanan to have a little bit more of an opportunity, but ultimately their final pass was also very poor into the box. Mikhail Tadzi for Villarreal, by the way, I was really disappointed with him tonight. He caused a little bit of trouble, caused a little bit of mayhem in the second half, but for the most part, like I say, it was the lowest of low quality games that I've seen from both teams. Pedro Porro, again, you know, sometimes he played the ball down the channel and connected well with Mohamed Kudus, who I'll come to in a minute because he was the breath of fresh air. That guy, Mohamed Kudus, was absolutely sensational tonight. His ability to do trickery, to break the line, to take it round the player and then create. He took players on at every opportunity he could, and he was really, really effective, if I'm entirely honest. By far the best player in a Tottenham shirt, if I'm being honest with you, from my perspective. I thought the guy was he's just showing another fantastic effort from him, and what a wonderful player he is. If we can get someone like him on the left-hand side doing things like what he does, Tottenham have a dual threat and something that most teams will find absolutely terrifying. As he was my man of the match. and everything that was positive about Tottenham for me this afternoon, which wasn't a lot, was through him. But again, he himself, he did also give the ball away quite a lot, and so again, frustrating output, but the input from Mohamed Kudus was sensational. In the midfield today, we went with Lucas Berghvall, Pape Sarr and Rodrigo Bentancur. If I'm entirely honest, guys, there's a demonstration tonight of why I don't like Rodrigo Bentancur in the 6. He has too many things to think about that he's not comfortable doing. He was sloppy in the transition. He was sloppy with the ball, giving it away. And when we gave the ball away, which we did probably about 30 or 40 times in that game, with misplaced medium-length passes, trying to cut across the park because our midfield wasn't there, wasn't doing triangles enough, Kudus and Xavi Simons and Bentancur, Sarr, Berghvall, all 5 of those guys were giving the ball away time and time again. And when we did give the ball away, if it wasn't for the fact that Villarreal was so toothless up front, we could have been absolutely punished. I think one time in the end of the first half, Buchanan, I think it was, managed to find himself with space on the left-hand side as who would it have been? Jed Spence and Xavi Simons got themselves in a little bit of a trouble down outside. Their player managed to figure it out, kind of come out with the ball, split it across the park to Buchanan, who was free on the edge of the 18-yard box, on the apex, and then sent it about 3 or 4 yards wide. If I'm entirely honest, guys, if I have to say that any team probably had more half chances or quarter chances than the other, it would be Villarreal. They had a late free kick. They had a couple of chances that also were just sent a little bit wide. On a better day against a better team with more clinical finishing, we didn't deserve, we wouldn't have come away with the 3 points like we did tonight. It seems like we got lucky for the first goal. I think we only had one shot on target. I can't even remember who it was from, to be entirely honest, but it really wasn't a fantastic performance from the team overall, and I think that's because we just gave the ball away so many times that it's difficult to get any momentum and rhythm. On the left-hand side, we had Xavi Simons, of course, who was doing as much as he possibly could to cut in. I haven't seen him take a man on the outside yet. Again, another reason why I do think his eventual position will be in the 10, because if you've got a left winger that only wants to cut in onto their right-hand side, it becomes a little bit predictable. And in the first half, I think Jed Spence was trying to overlap but really wasn't getting any sort of joy, and the chemistry isn't quite there on the offensive side for me between Jed Spence and Xavi Simons. Xavi Simons lucky to stay on the pitch as far as I'm aware. He got a cheap yellow card. I think it was in the first half, maybe the early start of the second half. I forget when it happened. But then later on, he was a free kick given against him, and he looked like he took the player out. I don't know if you guys will agree. Again, I haven't seen the replay, but I feel like he was lucky to stay on the pitch. For me, after about 50 minutes, I was thinking that Tottenham need substitutions here. The midfield battle is being lost. You know that Thomas Partey was going to come on. You know that they were going to bring on some of their more established sort of older heads into that midfield. And eventually Tottenham got round to bringing off Pape Sarr for Polinia. I thought Pape Sarr had it, like I say, they all of them had moments today where at times I was watching them, they had space to be able to create things, and in the detail, in the minutiae, in the tight control, I felt like Tottenham had lots of things where you could sit there and say, well done. Berghvall had many moments where he sort of twisted and turned and sort of created a moment of magic to get the ball into some space behind him, as did Sarr, as did Bentancur, as did a lot of the players. In the tight control, we won a lot of those duels. It was just then when you had the freedom to then pick the pass, Villarreal picked them off every single time. Now, I'm not sure, I'm not a smart enough coach to be able to figure out whether that's just the style of press that they were doing, the interceptions, were they built for interpretation and clever IQ from Villarreal, or were they just sloppy? From my perspective, they were just sloppy passes, and it was everywhere. Every single player on our side, and for what it's worth, on Villarreal's side as well. So, thoroughly unimpressed with the final ball. As I say, it wasn't the final pass, it was the final fail. At the top end of the pitch, Richalison, not his best game by far, felt very ineffective, very ineffectual, felt like he was running around, racing around, sort of doing headless chicken stuff, much like Mathys Tel was at West Ham last week. I think it's early days in the Thomas Frank system, but as much as we look solid defensively, we don't look like we're giving up too many chances in the way of obvious output from any of the games that we're playing defensively, and that's fantastic, and it clearly has been the priority under Thomas Frank and Cochrane in their time on the training ground to get that defence solid as a rock, and it's now 4 clean sheets out of 5. A wonderful, wonderful thing to write home about. However, there's sacrifice there. It's being able to spend time on the training ground, I'd imagine, figuring out ways to turn those moments where you have possession into things that have meaningful output and meaningful chances. I haven't seen the stats, but I'm guessing the XG today was absolutely non-existent. And like I say, people are going to write home one of two ways about this game. They're either going to say all that matters is the 3 points, all that matters is the clean sheet, all that matters is that we're sitting pretty one from one in the Champions League, a couple of £1 million in the prize money pool, and obviously, you need to win your first game at home in the Champions League to give you a good chance of getting those 16 points that get you in the top 8 of the table, according to last year's stats anyway. I'm really happy with that. But this, much like West Ham, much like a lot of the games so far this season, there's been a little bit of a damp squib when it comes to creativity and the output. I think we need to figure out a way to get the 9 into the game more. We're not really seeing too much of it. We seem to be lobbing the ball up to the 9. And then when the ball is coming down the channels to Kudus or to Xavi Simons, or previously before Xavi Simons when it was a different left winger, I just feel like the 9 doesn't really know what to do in this role yet. Maybe because it's so different to how we were doing it under Ange Postecoglou. Players like Dom Solanke were very much aware of their role and what's required of them. Richalison, started the season fantastically well against Burnley, getting a couple of goals, etc. But in the last couple of games, he didn't play against West Ham, but tonight, and then Mathys Tel the other day, I just don't think that the 9 is his role and responsibilities in this system are quite clear. I'm sure these things will come in time, and I'm not getting in any way frustrated or sort of over-egging the pudding with my criticism here. But if we're entirely honest, the scoreline will tell you one thing, the stats will probably tell you another, and the eye test will tell you probably something which leans towards the stats, which was there really wasn't that much excitement tonight. We didn't really feel like we got out of first gear. It didn't feel like anyone was on the wavelength of each other. There was no synchronicity, and that will have to be improved upon, because if we're going to do well in this league, if we're going to do well in all fronts and all competitions, we can't rely on clean sheets every time. They do say that clean sheets wins you leagues. We're not going to be winning the league anytime soon, but I think we just need to get a little bit more time on the training ground, figuring out ways to be able to take that possession from the midfield and do better things with it. Because if you're handing over possession, I haven't seen the stats, I don't know, so I could be wrong, but I would imagine that we gave the ball away at least 20 times tonight in unnecessary situations. Not through losing duels. I think we won a lot of the duels, but it was when we had free open space, we just were trying to do crossfield passes, and the Villarreal players were cutting us out and intercepting very, very easily. That sort of stuff can be improved upon, so it's not the end of the world, but for sure it's the takeaway for me. Sloppiness is the word, the adjective of the night. Look, but we managed to get the job done, and we move on. For what it's worth, other players that came on, when Destiny Udogie came on later on in the game, I thought that in those final minutes, I thought he was solid. Didn't feel like he was not match fit or anything like that. I thought he was pretty impressive. I thought he connected quite well down the left-hand side with the time that he had with Xavi before Xavi came off. I thought that Kolo Muani, if I'm entirely honest, I know it's his first 8 minutes in the Tottenham shirt. Again, not criticising, not writing home, just giving you my impression. From the position that I was looking at, when we were looking for that outlet, he wasn't offering it. He was walking around. In the final 3 or 4 minutes, when we were clearing the ball from our own half, Richalison or someone like Mathys Tel, someone else that's been playing the line, Dom Solanke for sure, they'll be chasing down those sort of blind alleys, trying to just press from the front, even if they're doing it as a lone ranger, just to put pressure on their goalkeeper or their defenders. But Kolo Muani wasn't doing any of that. He was largely walking around. So very unimpressed with the first 8 minutes from him. But listen, we'll give him a lot more rope than that before we come to any conclusions. Trying to think who else came on the pitch towards the end there. Berghvall came off, and Sarr came off. Polinia came on. Danzo only had a couple of minutes at the end there just to sort of tidy things up. Like I say, there were moments, I'll summarise guys for the next 30 seconds, there were moments that were all of them in tight and close control. I thought really impressive, nice turns, nice little trickery, and there were some good sort of sessions, good sort of intricate moments, but overall, every time we broke free, we gave the ball away more often than we didn't, and we didn't create a single chance outside of their goalkeeper's sloppiness. I think that the loudest noise of the night from anybody was every time the goalkeeper got the ball, we were doing the wee because of his faux pas. And obviously Thomas Partey came on the pitch, and he wasn't well received, saying it or putting it politely. He got a bit of a hard time. But I thought the referee had an interesting game as well. I thought that in the first half he gave everything to the Yellow Submarine. as the game went on, though, I feel like he missed more than he saw for both teams. As I say, I think Xavi Simons might have got away with one, but let me know your thoughts, guys. I'll leave it there. I'm going to go outside and see if I can get some fan cams, although I think most people are going home because not a lot to talk about, really. But listen, 3 points, we're there. See you on the next one. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,